Welcome back to the show. This is the Off Camera On Record podcast, and my name is Aaron Ross, and thank you so much for tuning in today. As always, this show is sponsored by my production company, Aaron Ross Media Company, and this podcast was created so that we can share all of this amazing, wonderful production information with you. And we've been doing a whole series on podcasts and podcastings, and today being the last and final day of 2025, I'm going to make my predictions, okay? I'm going to make my predictions right here, right now, on the future of podcasting in 2026. And in all fairness, some of this is going to be based on real things, and some of this is just pure instinctual speculation. Could totally end up being wrong, but I am curious to see over the course of this next year how it all plays out. Thank you so much for tuning. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody who loves to make cool stuff or is trying to make cool stuff for other people. Whatever. If you work with a camera in any way, shape, or form, you should check this out. We got tips and tricks and info and knowledge. All right, skip the BS. Intro, fast forward. Let's get to the show, okay? Let's talk about my predictions for the future of podcasting in 2026. So let's go straight for the doom and gloom, okay? I think in 2026, we're seeing this rapid expansion of podcasts, right? All these new podcasts coming out, especially in the entertainment space and even in the corporate space, right? My theory of the case is that there will be an oversaturation of podcasts in the entertainment space, people making podcasts just for the sake of entertainment. And this is mostly people who are already celebrities trying to extend their careers or, turn a new leaf or a new chapter. I think a bunch of people are hopping onto the podcast bandwagon, even though it's been going on for, easily the last 5 years. Obviously way longer than that, but as far as like when the hype train started, it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years, people. Okay. And a lot of new players are just starting to enter the game. This is like I said on another episode, it's never too late, right? It's really never too late if you have a good idea, a good personality, you're willing to do the work, be consistent, all the things, right? It's never too late. It's always a good idea. But my prediction for 2026 is that as this entertainment bubble expands, right, we will see a podcast bloodbath at some point in the next year. And I think it'll continue over the next couple of years, but I think you'll see like a pretty aggressive one this year. You're going to see new players create new success while old players either fizzle out in a way that was unexpected or just lose interest or can't keep up or whatever. You're going to see a lot of consolidation. Like that's the long and the short of it, right? That's just my opinion. We're going to see a ton of consolidation. Right now, there's still a fair amount of expansion going on. This expansion feels very corporate in nature. A lot of the new shows that I'm seeing have like a lot of funding behind them. The pivot from these networks and these mostly from these networks that were making, bajillions of dollars doing TVs, movies, and all that other stuff. They're seeing that, like, man, for 1/100,000th of the cost, we can produce a podcast and get pretty much the same views and use those views to generate advertisers. So it's just a more cost-effective way to harvest eyeballs for ad revenue. That's what this is all about. We're just trying to steal your eyes so that we can sell them for dollars. And with all these corporate players going in, you're going to see like the standard and the level of podcasting significantly increase. You're already seeing this with certain podcasts. Like I do a lot of podcasts in the hip hop space. Remember, we're like over 300 episodes deep over here as far as shot and produced by yours truly, all over the place. But I've done a lot of hip hop stuff. And I'll give the example of the Joe and Jada podcast featuring Fat Joe and Jadakiss, right? New to the scene, growing incredibly rapidly. They clearly have a lot of corporate money behind them. And the set looks great. The everything is great. Everything is top-notch quality production. Basically, what I'm seeing right now is what would have been pitched as a network television show for a talk show, daytime series, or whatever. They're just calling it podcasts and they're just shipping them out. All right, that's what's happening now. So now all the daytime television money is getting redirected into podcasts, and boom, here you go. So all you podcasters out there, you're going to be competing with networks if you're in the business of podcasting for the sake of entertainment, right? Because you're just so interesting. But on the flip side, I think that niche podcasting is only just begun. I know it's been happening for a long time, just like with the entertainment podcasting. But I think what we're seeing on the other side of the coin in the private sector, as far as businesses are concerned, right, is that podcasting is the new marketing, right? Podcasting is the new way to create thousands of hours of content, farm clips from that content, use those clips for paid ads or organic, whatever marketing you want to do. It's just a great way to just create an abundance of content that you can use to market and demonstrate your skills and your expertise in your particular niche. So I think niche podcasting is only just begun, right? And I think you're going to see podcasting being wielded as a weapon of marketing by smart companies who know that simply running in-house podcasts is going to cost, either comparable to what a standard marketing budget is if you're running just, a lot of these expensive commercials or doing these expensive promotional video shoots. It's going to be similar cost, if not significantly cheaper, because obviously you can do it significantly cheaper. If you have in-house talent that's super personable, they have great personality, they're compelling, they're fun to look at and talk to and all the good stuff, they're going to kill it for you. Right? So you can even spend even less money if you have great in-house talent, or if the CEO happens to be an actually interesting person. Oh my goodness, that'd be crazy, right? But in the corporate world, I think we are about to see a wild, wild west style rush of everyone and their mama having a podcast for their niche product or service that really is about brand authority, establishing reputability, establishing that you're an expert in the field. So that's where I think podcasting is going on a conceptual level. For the production people out there, I predict that, in the next year, the world is going to learn a lot more about PTZ cameras and PTZ systems. I think that PTZ systems are getting cheaper and cheaper every year, and I think it's only a matter of time before podcasts en masse start adopting PTZ systems. And if you don't know what I mean by PTZ systems, let's take a look right here, all right? And I pulled up this system. Now, the price is going to scare you, right? I mean, the price is going to scare you because you're going to see $7,723, and that's after a holiday savings of $200, which ends tonight. So by the time you watch this video, you lost $200. But what I will say is this is significantly cheaper than what it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. PTZ cameras were something that were almost exclusively reserved for reality television, like real network productions, because you're going to spend, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per camera if you want these 4K PTZ cameras. And I mean, obviously, if we look at Sony has some really great PTZ cameras. And what does PTZ stand for? Just not to digress too much, but it stands for pan, tilt, zoom, because the cameras can move on their own. And so we look at these pictures, these cameras can move on their own, and basically here's the setup. It's like you have this controller here. The controller has a joystick here, which allows you to control the camera, right? You can see that over here. That's how you control the cameras. You can pan, tilt. You have zoom, you have focus on these scroll wheels on the left-hand side of this controller, and you basically hook up all your cameras. You see all the connections you have in the back. You have an NDI, so that's your it's essentially an Ethernet port. You have your 3G SDI. You have USB. You have HDMI, and you also have line in and line out, so you can incorporate audio into the feed as well. So, but basically what I'm predicting for the future of podcasting is that This whole kit was probably like twice the price a couple years ago. I'm not sure about this specific kit, but the concept of getting 4K PTZ cameras that are quality with a controller, right, was not a under $10,000 thing for the longest. Now it is officially an under $10,000 thing. And as a result, I think we're going to see a ton of that start to pop up. People are going to realize that, like, it's way easy, especially if you want to have like one set or one area. It's going to be way easier to just set up one room, have your backdrop, have your lighting, everything mounted, everything set up, have your cameras mounted. You don't need people physically standing in the room. It lets you have like a studio feel, a real television production feel in a small environment that probably couldn't fit 3 camera operators standing behind 3 full-size cameras on tripods. Right? So think about all the cool stuff you can do with the space savings that you get from using these systems, and the fact that they're integrated with all the different connections. You can go absolutely crazy. So I think everyone's going to start catching on to PTZ cameras. I think PTZ cameras is going to have its day as a wave in the podcast world. I know that there are some people who are already using PTZ cameras in that capacity, but it's really not common. It actually really is not common. We're still seeing most podcasts, especially podcasts with, like, from the low budget podcast to the high budget podcast, right? You're seeing them all being shot on mirrorless cameras, DSLRs, camcorders, the classic, just hook up a bunch of cameras. I think the ATEM camera switcher, right? And for those of you who are not familiar, I'll pull that up right here. This is the one that you've probably seen a million billion times right here. This is the ATEM Mini Pro. I actually have one of these right here on my desk. You're seeing these everywhere, right? And you're also seeing, where is it? The Extremes. ATEM. Let's show them the Extreme. Oh, look at that. Look at that, right on time for the new year. We have a not yet available Blackmagic ATEM Mini Extreme ISO that's upgraded. This is the G2, the Gen 2. And immediately I'm seeing some interesting things on the back of this unit. I'm seeing 3 HDMI outs. I'm seeing a power supply USB-C in addition to 2 additional USB-Cs. I'm seeing XLR ins. Okay. That's a lot of stuff I wasn't seeing before. And 2 Ethernet ports, a 1G and a 10G, also a CFast card reader. That's actually really cool. I don't know if it's worth the extra $1,000, to be honest. This might be the type of thing where if you already have an ATEM Mini or an Extreme, just wait until this has been out for a year and the price goes down, and then maybe grab one of these later on. It looks like they kind of simplified the button structure. All the same buttons are it's all pretty much there. I guess they're using those like plasticky buttons that you would find on like the more expensive Blackmagic ATEMs and camera switching units, but you know, that's crazy, right? So that's new tech. More new tech is happening all the time. Speaking of new tech, you got to check this out in the podcast world. We got a new microphone from Shure, the maker of the classic SM7B, the microphone you've seen on every famous podcast ever in the history of mankind. Almost like it's like the caricature of a podcast microphone. This is the MV7i, and this is a smart microphone and interface setup. And first and foremost, I want to look at the back of this microphone because it's actually quite interesting. What we have here is we have XLR in, we have USB-C, and we have 1/4 inch instrument cable. That means that it doesn't really matter what the setup is. You can connect this microphone pretty much directly to any system. USB direct to computer, the XLR direct to an interface or a mixing board. Same thing with the instrument cable if you just don't happen to have an XLR lying around or you're in a weird environment where that's not an option. You see they gave it this like cool little LED light thing. I guess they're trying to they're trying to show how fancy it is, but basically the concept is that they're adding AI technology to the microphones themselves. I know it sounds absolutely ridiculous considering the fact that if you get a Shure SM7B, you can use that microphone for the next 50 years and be completely fine. But it is cool to play with these things if you don't want to know anything and you just want to sound great with very little background knowledge, which honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's about getting the content out, then you don't really need to be this prolific audio engineer, producer, all of these things if you're just trying to make content at home. But I guess we'll look at some of the details here. It has an auto level mode with smart gate technology that dynamically adjusts mic gain based on proximity, speech volume, and room acoustics, ensuring clear and uninterrupted recordings. I hope they used a ton of AI learning models on this before they put it out into the world, because that does sound like the perfect opportunity to create some pretty terrible vocal situations where the volume is kind of artificially, that's, I guess, would be my main concern, is that, is it going to sound artificial? There's voice isolation and advanced DSP features, digital pop stopper, real-time denoiser, voice isolation tech, and adjustable reverb. So there's reverb built into this microphone. Instant mute. You can just tap on the LED panel and mute the microphone. Real-time monitoring. We saw the headphone cable port in the back. So mixdown mode, merge audio into one mono track by default, or multi-track mode for two separate mono tracks, and stereo mode to preserve stereo audio from your input combined with your mic recording. Yeah, so I guess that's where we are now. We're putting AI into the microphones now, right? And we talked about before, there's AI for the transcript. If you use Adobe Podcast, it has a AI enhanced transcription software built in. Also AI enhanced like vocal cleaner. It cleans up your audio. Essentially runs a chain that's like denoise, compression, limiter, like all the standard stuff, just does it automatically with the slider, so you can slide the intensity of the effect. All the way up to 100% is going to sound like you trying to drown a robot and hold its head underwater. But, down at like 20%, 30%, it actually sounds really good for a quick fix on audio that might have a little too much background noise, or you just don't have the time to do a clean mix on it. So now that we're seeing this tech being integrated directly into the microphones, that's actually very interesting. I am curious about that. And then the last thing I want to talk about as part of my predictions for podcasting in 2026 is personality, right? I said there was going to be like a huge expansion of podcasting because corporations are going to be jumping on the bandwagon even more so than they are now. I think it's going to be a mandatory part of business marketing to have some sort of in-house podcast simply for the clip farming, if nothing else. If nothing else, for the clip farming alone, this is valuable, right? Incredibly valuable. But I think Rode is onto something here. Rode, the maker of the Rode mics, the Rode, this, whatever this microphone arm is, they make this. They make really great podcasting equipment. They're like a household name in the podcast world. And this is their XLR podcast expansion kit. But there's something very particular I want to show you about this, because they added something completely new to this year. And I think it goes to show where this whole podcast world is headed. The personalization of podcast technology goes to show how widespread podcasting will become on a niche level. And check it out. We have colors. That's right. Rode has introduced colors. Right? That means that you can actually align your podcast equipment with your brand color. So if your logo's orange, now you got your orange microphone with your orange mic cable with your orange microphone arm. And that is really cool. And it goes to show that, based on the research that these companies are doing, they're seeing what the trajectory is. They're seeing that, like, in the world of big money, corporate backed entertainment podcasts, right? It's about to be a bloodbath, right? I think people's attention only goes so far. I think if every, rapper in the world has a podcast, if every athlete in the world has a podcast, yes, they'll all have some amount of audience, but they're not going to stick around for the long haul in the fight for attention that this is going to become, right? And the people who are already super successful are in a position to become even more successful. And even big time celebrities starting podcasts right now, they're spending a ton of money to force it in front of people's eyes in order to get the type of views they think they deserve, right? From their experience being, famous in whatever capacity that they've been famous in. But the personalization is going to be great for businesses. I'm looking at this from the standpoint of like, we run a production company. We sell podcast production services to clients. This is a really excellent way to, incorporate the brand identity with the whole overall look. So when we're designing the set, now we have colors to go along with it. So I think good look for road. This is going to be like a huge deal, in my opinion. You're going to see a lot more Rode mics with all these colorful setups and a lot more clips all over the internet. So shout out to them for doing that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much my prediction for the future of podcasting. So, to break it down one more time, in the entertainment podcasting space, there has already been a mad dash, right? Every famous person under the sun has already launched their podcast. I anticipate 2026 will be a bloodbath year for a lot of podcasts. I think podcasts you didn't expect are going to rise to the top. I think some of the ones that are already great are going to stay there and get even bigger. And I think a lot of people that showed up are going to realize it's a lot more time, energy, and effort than they thought it was going to be. It's not like just sit around, do nothing, and go viral, that there's actually work involved. And I think people are going to, it's like a fad for most of the people in that entertainment space. And I think they're going to be on it until something a little bit more lucrative for their style, like maybe movies or TV opportunities pops up, right? However, in the corporate world, the business space, podcasting is the new marketing. So I expect every company in America to have a podcast at a certain point. It kind of doesn't make sense not to. Even if you're a nail salon, right? You should probably have a podcast where you talk about the nails and how great the nails are and how awesome your customers are, and bring regulars to the shop and have them as guests on the podcast, and, bring the artistic, community-oriented potential that a podcast can bring you to even a nail salon business. I think there's no limitation on how companies can effectively use podcasting to spread their reach as far as humanly possible. And then from a tech standpoint, you can see that they're putting AI in everything. So there's AI in the microphones. I think PTZ cameras are going to have a boom. They're getting cheaper. We saw that there's a new ATEM coming out, Blackmagic. I hate to say it, but you guys take forever to release new products. So that'll be out probably sometime late 2026, if not 2027, who knows? But maybe they'll surprise me. And the personalization of color, what do you call it? Color coordinated podcasting equipment for allowing like super personalized, on brand looks for every clip and whatever, especially when you're doing vertical clips and you can't see like the whole set, right? That microphone and that little bit of the microphone arm, like whatever's in that shot becomes really important. So that's my prediction for the future of this whole podcasting universe in 2026. As I said, today is the last day of 2025. I hope everyone out there had a great and wonderful and amazing 2025. And if it wasn't, that's too bad. We got a whole 2026 to look forward to, all right? So keep moving, keep your eye on the ball. Do not stop, don't quit, don't ever give up. This is what we do. This is the off camera, on record, right? Because I'm usually behind the camera. I'm usually on the other side of this whole thing, right? And we're gonna start bringing in guests in 2026, and we're gonna start showing off the team and getting a little bit more expansive and all that stuff. I just wanted to lay the groundwork. We're doing this series on podcasting, and so thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked it, prove it. Hit the like button. If you really liked it, double prove it. Subscribe, and if you really, really, really liked it, share it with a friend. Or if you care about your friend and they're running a production company, or if you care about your friend and they have a podcast and you just want to help them get an edge, have an advantage, this is a community. Reach out in the comments. I will reply. To the best of my ability, I will reply, right? And as the community grows, I mean, I'm going to do my best to make sure that there's always a constant dialogue and communication, because we should be sharing knowledge, not hiding it. There's no reason why we all can't win. At the end of the day, the knowledge is free. You can go on ChatGPT and get the answers for 99% of the technical things in life, right? It's really about putting in the time, the energy, the effort. Who's willing to work for it? Who's willing to be consistent? So with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. 2025, we had enough of you. 2026, let's go. All right. Happy New Year. Happy birthday for all the people who are going to be born on the first day of the year. I can't wait to see you make the news in a few hours. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have fun. Be responsible. Do all the good things. And good night.